I'm unmuting us on my end. I mean, we've already been on Tartrus' stream here, but I'm going to unmute us on my end and Discord out to let people know.
No
Yeah, I'm
more
a little,
computer chips.
a little nerfed right now. I only have one monitor.
Yeah. Yeah, so my idea is over the next couple weeks, while we're getting the stuff for this campaign set up, to ideally I actually want to have like pairings of people. Like one-on-one is cool too for some stuff, but it's kind of nice to like talk with a couple people. You can bounce ideas off each other more, and
Yeah.
and so we have Purplex has played some D&D, and Tartrus is a newbie. But that should work. Should be interesting.
Yeah, I would say I'm fairly confident with 5e.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Yeah,
I also have a vague understanding of poetry as a DM.
Yeah. Yeah. If you had to use one word to describe me as a DM, what would it be?
I refrain.
Let's see.
Nah, I mean, if I had to use one word, I would say ambitious.
Ambitious. Okay. I mean, that's either good or bad, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah. Did you know Purplex in the current game going on? In the Friday game, they murdered like a 14-year-old. So that's fun.
Excuse me?
I mean, that was either...
Yeah, I want to know
who would have... My immediate instinct is that was Matt, but I don't think it was Matt.
Actually, Matt tried to prevent the 14-year-old from getting killed.
Yeah, I mean, that's a split decision that Matt would make.
Yeah, who do you think killed the 14-year-old?
How far into the session was it? Because that matters.
It was like maybe an hour or two. This was a while ago. I just brought it up because it's like the most ridiculous. It's one of the more ridiculous things I could think of that they've done in this campaign so far. And like the kid kind of deserved it because he was like he literally attacked them with like a sword and stuff. But they also attacked their ship first. So Tartrus in the other game, the group is basically like pirates. And they stealthily boarded this nobleman's ship that was negotiating with another set of pirates. Just jumped on the ship and started murdering all of the nobleman's men. And then the nobleman's son was one of the people there, and he was like, the nobleman's son is like, I'm not going to let these rapscallions, destroy my father's property. So he stands up to defend it and then just gets fucking destroyed.
So if it was only like an hour into the session, that has to be it. That has to be Jack.
No, it was actually Kragox, but
Really?
Yeah, it's mostly because his character is the more roguey boy out of the group, and so he was like, I don't care, I'm just gonna murder him.
That's not a move I would expect from Kragox an hour. That's 4 or 5 hours in after a few games, Kragox.
Well, Matt was up there, and his character was like trying to like de-escalate things, or at least prevent. He basically told the kid to surrender, but this is like a spoiled like nobleman's son, so they're not going to surrender when they're being attacked by pirates. Their honor demanded that they fight.
I mean that sounds like a standard situation of a child not knowing the real world.
Yeah. Anyways, though, yeah, that game has had some fucked up stuff. No, I think that's the most like that's the closest I think there came to be any sort of debate amongst the party about like, should we have done that? Let's see, what else have they done? They did. I'm trying to think what else they've actually done even. Yeah, I don't know. So
I would have encouraged that behavior.
yeah. So Tartrus. So I think what we'll do here is I know Tartrus has to go to bed in a bit. So I'll probably mostly be focused on Tartrus at first. And then but
yeah, get Tartrus tarted up.
Yeah, but well, yeah, have you guys met before?
Yeah.
We've talked before, yes.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, no, so I think the idea is gonna be but obviously as we're going, I'll probably be explaining a lot of like the setup for Tartrus and a lot of that might answer some of your questions, Purplex too, so.
Yeah, no, actually what I'll do is I'll read over the thing that you've posted already.
Yeah.
While you do that.
So I sent that. I tried to make it as like succinct as possible. It still ended up being like 4 pages long, but that's because a lot of it is in like a list format. So, I
wish that you would like not send just a normal file that I have to download.
Yeah. Well, I put the doc link as well. If you want to look at it that way.
Oh, you did. Look at that.
This time I did that.
That wasn't in the highlighted message.
That's true. But yeah, so here, first off, let me do something. Let me get up something. I'm gonna put something up on my screen. Yeah, there we go. This will be good. So I made like a very simple overlay for this as well, which I need to hold on, I gotta actually get everything up on it. Fuck. Alright, there we go. Hold on.
I appreciate you conceding in your font choice.
Yeah, I changed the font a while ago.
What font?
It was a high point of contention
on the map.
Contention in the past.
Yeah, not on like the document, on the map. I used to use a different font.
Stylistic font that none of us could logically read.
Yeah, it was just a couple letters, like the L's and the I's and the.
And it was only like 10 letters out of 26 that were mistakable.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I was just too lazy to change it for a while. It's not like I was set on that particular font.
There was months where we all
Does my vote count?
Yeah, let's bring it back. Let's go. No, I like the new one because. Okay, here. Let me get. Oh god, I can't tell. Hold on. Let me just do it from here. Okay. Yeah. So. Yeah, what I'll probably do is I will stream to Discord some stuff if it becomes relevant.
Alright.
Or I'm also just going to put up on my stream. Hold on. I'm going to put up like a capture of this Photoshop document I have in case we want to talk about the maps at all. But yeah, so I don't know. So Tartrus, did you have a chance to just glance over the document?
I did, yes.
Yeah. So like my world is very much based off of like real world, like Europe, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so pretty much like within reason, if you think of like a kind of archetype or an idea for your character, like you want to play like a flamboyant Italian-esque, musketeer or something, like, or if you wanted to play like a mercenary from somewhere, like within reason we can make stuff like that work. So
okay,
I was thinking we'll talk about, so like I don't know. So if you've not played D&D at all before, I
That
was
is
thinking,
right.
yeah, like but you probably still have some knowledge of like the general gist of it. You have like your character's race or ancestry,
Okay.
and then their class,
Yeah.
and then other stuff. But like for right now, I say we mostly just focus on the general
All right.
parts. Um, in other words, like the race and the class. And then what we'll do, we could talk another time about the mechanics of all that and how to best make that work on
Do you have a
paper.
game set up?
No, I don't, because I actually don't, because I might be using Foundry instead of Roll20. I'm not sure.
What
Yeah.
is that?
It's like Foundry is like a browser. It's just a different browser based like thing. But it has more options for the DM. It's not really much different for the player. So I'll probably still set up a Roll20 because I can port it over if I want to eventually. But for now, I don't have it set up. Anyways, though, let me get something set up here. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So, so let me. I have it on my stream. My stream up, or do you want me to share on Discord?
I can put your stream up. Hold
Okay,
on.
yeah, that'll work. Let me make this bigger as well.
Yo, I got big debated.
Yeah, what's up?
There's an ad of a different streamer. I was like, this ain't right. This dude had a face scan. He's like a
see
50-year-old
stream.
man.
Okay, so there are, how many is this? Like 11, 12 classes. 12 classes in D&D, right? And all, most of them are pretty self-explanatory, right? Barbarian, get mad, hit stuff. A fighter is basically like, it's a proficient weapon user or weapons user. But other than that, it could be flavored lots of different ways. Whether you want to be like a bowmaster type fighter or like a duelist, there's a lot of different ways you can take fighter. It's very flexible. A lot of them are pretty self-explanatory. Where it might be a little tricky or D&D specific, right, with the jargon, is when it comes to stuff like sorcerer versus warlock versus wizard. Like, what the fuck is the difference there, right? And so, like, so I don't know. Do you have a general preference right now as far as, do you want to play a magic-based character or a, more up in your face with a sword type character? What is your general thoughts?
I think with the character that I was thinking of, the Barbarian would work best for.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, you should give us a little rundown on what you were thinking.
Yeah. What are your? Let me put that
Because
here.
it's possible that something else might.
Yeah.
be
I
more
was
logical to look
thinking.
into.
I was thinking that I would be playing a man who was a feral child that was raised by orcs in the east. Because I
Okay.
think your map, the orcs are in the east, right?
Yeah, there are some orcs like in the area of the in like closer to where the campaign is starting as well. So it doesn't have to be too far away. It could be quite close by, in fact, but
Yeah.
but it could be from further away. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So a feral child that was raised by orcs, in wherever the orc town is.
Yeah.
Who is now, grown up
Okay.
and is very strong, but pretty much can't speak or communicate. You know those like feral children that language or linguists studied?
Yeah.
Like
Like
that.
Genie
Yeah, there you
and
go. Yeah,
there's a couple siblings. I can't remember the name. Yeah.
and the orc genie.
The orc. So
I mean,
you're.
You could possibly just forego knowing common.
Yeah. So yeah, the
Just speak in Orcish.
yeah, that's something that could work honestly. And like, so the way language works in my world, so like in kind of the standard D&D for this edition, they kind of presume that you're playing in like the Forgotten Realms, which is like I don't know if you know anything about it, but it's like a specific fantasy world. That's where like Baldur's Gate is, for instance, and like that's in the world of the Forgotten Realms and the Sword Coast and yada yada yada. But this is obviously not taking place there. And in that setting, in that campaign setting, they kind of assume that like they assume that there is such a thing as like common, like that's spoken between all the humans of the world. But I just find that ridiculous, so I basically have done away with that. But I generally give players like an extra language choice if they want it, so to make up for that. But like,
I guess in Alderland we knew Aldish or something.
Yeah, and that was in Alderland. That wasn't a problem because it was basically that's in our last campaign that we had Tartrus that Purplex was in. In that one, it wasn't an issue because it was you basically on one island. Anyone that didn't speak Aldish spoke like halfling if they were a halfling. That's about it. In the other campaign I have going on right now, on Fridays, then they are basically in like the Mediterranean equivalent, and so that one language is very important. There's like, all these different languages. For this one, so for this campaign, it won't really matter at all after a bit, because the idea is, and that's not entirely true, but the idea is that your characters are going to basically be stranded in a place where none of your languages that you start off with are spoken. Right.
It would help if you knew the regional language of where we were from, though.
Yes,
so that we could communicate with you.
So I don't know though. I like the idea. So your idea is that they were a feral human child specifically, then, right? Tartrus. Yes. Okay, so like a feral human child was raised by orcs. Like it could be interesting if they only speak Orcish, perhaps like that could work. I was imagining there might be like one other orc on the crew, so maybe they translate for you, like an NPC orc just translates for you.
All right.
If you could think on that more, if you and you can have like basic sign language as well, that would work. But yeah, it could be an interesting arc for your character that they have to be taught how to read or something. So that could work. Let me get up that document that I shared with you guys actually. If I can find it. So chat, I'll show you guys as well. So and my idea is I do want to stream these little like brainstorming sessions so that chat can kind of get to know the different characters. Yeah, I do. I don't know. We'll see how the stream of this campaign goes. Like if it's not going, if the stream itself is like annoying to mess with, then I might just like say screw it and we'll just play without the stream. But we'll see. Okay. Let me get this up on screen here. So I don't know. What are your biggest questions, Tartrus, while I'm setting this up here? Like, what do you want to know about? Yeah.
I don't even know what questions I would have.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
Yeah, so you want to grow up feral by the orcs. Assumedly, some point you get reintroduced to society. Some form of like human run civilization, right?
Yep.
So chat, this is the map I sent like yesterday to the group. So the idea is that the players are starting out in this the idea is that the players are part of a raiding group, basically, of like basically Vikings, and essentially they're starting from this city way up in the north of the continent, and they're planning to go out raiding somewhere, but they get like blown way off course and find themselves in a new land, a foreign land. From there, I have not spoiled anything about what awaits them, what it's like, but there's gonna be some weird shit. Stuff that is not like stuff that's different than the rest of my world. So like different from what like Purplex knows about it. But yeah,
I don't know much of anything about it.
yeah. There's plenty that'll be the same, but there will be some stuff different. Let's see.
I mean, I do slightly remember where some Vikings were.
Yeah. So,
About it.
yeah, let's go back to, let's see. If I go back in, hold on, let me adjust this stuff. Okay. So yeah, let's say that we have yeah, so you were saying you would probably want to be human. So the way so yeah, Tartrus, with the way that like basically making a character goes mechanically, right? You have your race, which will provide some bonuses to certain stats. Humans kind of have like a little bit more like versatility, or like variety, because they can like you can choose to basically spread out your bonuses to all of your stats, or kind of be more specialized in one area. We'll talk about that when we get into actual like creation of the stuff mechanically. But Barbarian, you know, like as you might imagine, you're gonna have like a focus on strength and stuff. Yeah. Do you know? So let's see. Let me go and actually get a Roll20 sheet up here, so I can like show you kind of what to expect. Again, I don't think we're gonna get too into the nitty gritty today. Like, hold on, let me just put this up. But it would be good to at least.
I would say, if you do look into different classes, Barbarian, for example, I would suggest looking at level 3.
Yeah.
Because that's level 3 is sort of the deciding factor of how your character will play.
Yeah, so we're gonna be starting at level 1, but like
that's where you get your subclass of your class. The subclasses are really what make the class unique.
Yep. And what we'll probably do, I think we have in actually Purplex. Do you know where the somewhere in one of the D&D channels, there's a link to where you can find a version of the player's handbook. Yeah.
I don't.
A totally legal to
I
view.
used to just have it bookmarked.
Yeah.
I might still have it bookmarked.
But basically, we can get you like the player's handbook, Tartrus, and basically you don't need to like read the whole thing, but you know, just go. Basically, you can go to the class section and start skimming. There's
plenty
things.
of wikis out there as well.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah,
You
so
want to find stuff on the internet, I'm sure.
yeah. So here, I'm just gonna put up. Hopefully,
You've shaken enough tables to know how to do that.
Hold on. All right, here we go. So this is from my other game, but I'm just gonna hope that I can get something going here. New character. Test character. So this is like, again, the interface might be different depending on if we do end up using this or not. So I'm just gonna add a sheet directly now. So again, we'll talk more about this at another point, Tartrus, and just like nail down the numbers themselves and everything. But yeah, is this showing up well on stream? It's a little small maybe, but here you go. So who did that? Is that Kragox? Wow. Alright, so can you see this alright, Tartrus, on here?
Let me increase the resolution.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I can make it bigger. It is kind of small. Let me see if I can make it bigger.
Yeah, the text is a bit hard to read.
Yeah.
Yeah, only a little bit.
I don't know if there's a way to make it bigger, but here, I can make it bigger on OBS. Yeah. Here's what we'll do.
Oh.
Hold on. Well, here's what I'll do. Oh, look at this. Editing on the fly, baby. I'm just going to narrow it down to just the stuff I care about. Oh, and then we make it bigger. Okay. So basically I'm just going to give you a very brief introduction to like how the very basics of like how stats work, you know? So like basically in D&D, it's you know, there's a lot of and it shares a lot with plenty of video game RPGs took inspiration from this type of system. Like Fallout New Vegas, right? You know how at the start of Fallout New Vegas, you like put stuff in base stats, like attributes, I don't remember what they call it. And then there's separately like skills, like perks. Right?
Yeah.
That's kind of how it's done in D&D. There's your abilities, which are the 6 on the left here. Strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, and charisma. Those are like your base stats that pretty much everything is based off of. And then you have a bunch of like skills and saving throws that are more specific. And, you know, we don't need to worry about that. But those ones are based off of primarily your base attributes, your ability scores. And essentially, the way D&D has it is it's kind of like a holdout from when the game started. But basically, the average Joe on the streets of any city in the world, right, has a 10 baseline in every stat. Like, the idea is that 10 is completely average.
Okay.
And the reason why is because it uses a D20 system, right? So, like, most rolls in the game are based off of D20s. So, 10 is, like, right in the middle. You know, I guess technically 10.5, but they basically round down for stuff like that. So the idea is that, like, the average person in the world has 10 strength, 10 dexterity, 10 constitution, etc. And you know, as you can imagine, like, you know, the stats basically do what they sound like. Strength is just how strong you are. Dexterity is how agile you are. Constitution means how hardy you are, you know. Intelligence and wisdom, you know, are sometimes can be tricky to kind of distinguish. But the idea is that intelligence is book smarts, wisdom is street smarts, and then charisma is, you know, your force of character, how persuasive you are, how, you know, good you are at performing, how charismatic you are. So, and the way it works is, so again, 10 is like the baseline, which is why there's a 0 above all, or for all of these, because basically there's no plus or minus bonus. If your character is being a barbarian, let's say they maybe start off with like, again, we'll have to figure out what it is. Well, let's say they started out with like a 16 strength or something. That would basically be the equivalent of a 3 bonus. And the reason why it doesn't really matter, but basically you take the amount above 10 that it is, which is 6, and then divide it by 2. And it rounds down, so 17 would still be 3. So basically every 2, and this is, again, it's kind of a little weird, but it basically has to do with like old school D&D. And they kept it around kind of for that reason. But yeah, so the idea is that within the normal range of characters, your abilities will range from, like, you know, the low single digits up to about 20.
Yeah, it's typically impossible to go over 20.
Yeah.
There are ways. That's strictly up to the DM, though.
Yeah, there are certain, like, magical items, and then in
your control, the only way that you can only level the 20 in your control.
So basically, like, you know, if you were to have a the idea is like let's just say that let's just assume that you're doing like a basic strength roll, right? We're not going to get into proficiency and other stuff. Let's just say you're doing like a strength based roll and your strength is just 10. That means your bonus is 0. So you'd roll a 20-sided die, right? And then that's your result. So if you rolled like an 18, your result is an 18, which is pretty good. It's probably going to be good for most things. However, let's say your strength was 20, then your modifier would be 5. So let's say you roll the 18, that's actually now a 23 because you add your strength modifier. So that's the idea, right? Is that like it's with a 20-sided die, a bonus of +5 is pretty significant. But of course, that would be for a character that was like very specialized in strength. Most characters in a party are going to have like maybe like 12 strength or something, and they get a small bonus. And so the idea is that like realistically, you're going to have a couple stats that you have be in the mid-teens to start, and then eventually you'll upgrade them more. Some stats are probably not going to be as good. Like if you're a barbarian, the classic dump stat is like intelligence. And for
intelligence or charisma.
Yeah, and so for your character, it sounds like either intelligence or charisma could work just fine as a dump stat. Basically, your bad stats, because you can't have all your stats be good. Depending. I haven't thought about how we're gonna roll or determine stats, but yeah.
I was gonna say, are we doing point by or?
I don't know. I have to think about it. Yeah, we.
Do you want to let us roll and have somebody end up with a 20 starting stat?
Well, I mean, it can only be 18, I guess, plus the bonuses if you get really lucky. Yeah, no.
I mean, if you roll an 18 and have a +2 in something, you just start with 20 something. Yeah.
I think what I'll do is I'll let you guys either do
and then have a 5 in something else.
I will let you guys do point by, or I kind of like the idea that Craigox has, which is one that does exist, which is you roll but in order. So then you kind of have to let your stats determine the character, right?
Yeah,
that's cool.
I would say if you, I'm not gonna allow just normal rolling, but if you want to roll,
cool
yeah.
If for like not a main campaign. Because then you're stuck into either one, you're just playing a bad character forever no matter what, or you're just like stuck into a very specific thing.
No, I mean, but at the same time, it might give you a chance to try something new, and yeah. But I would say if you don't want to roll, I would say I'll probably have the option if you want to roll, you have to do it that way where you take it in order. And then you base the character around that. Or you can do point by, which is basically, and I'll send the rules for that so that Tartrus can see that. But basically, that point by just means that you like have a certain number of points to allocate. And there's a table for it. So, yeah. So anyways, though, Tartrus. So that's the very basics are that you have like these, and again, whatever program or website we use, like you'll just put your strength or dex in with the raw number of like 12, 14, whatever, 13, whatever it may be, and it'll tell you like what the bonus is for that. Because it is a little strange that there's like two numbers. We don't really need the smaller one. The bonus is really the only one that matters because that's what we apply to rolls in general. But there are other things on here. So
yeah, the only thing that I can even think of that might use the big number is like, let's say you go barbarian and you want some big beefy armor.
Yeah.
And certain armors require
that's true. Yeah.
Certain stats. So like you'll have to have a 13 in strength to wear medium armor.
Yes. There are some strength requirements, and there's also some it also determines like carry weight and jumping distance, right? But that doesn't really matter. And it doesn't come up that much, at least, right? So, yeah. So, the other two main like types of roles. So you'll have like your ability stuff is what a lot of other stuff is based off of, and there's basically three types of main roles There are attack rolls, which we aren't going to worry about right now. But basically, you know, you either have like a strength-based weapon or a dex-based weapon. Some of them you get to choose. And then spells would use the mental stats equivalent, you know. So those are attack rolls done with 20-sided dice plus whatever bonus is relevant. And again, we'll talk about that more later. That one's the most complex, probably. The other two types of rolls are skills and saving throws. And saving throws are basically, as you can see, just the same as the stats in name. And the bonuses they get will be largely based off of those base stats. The difference between a saving throw and just like a normal check, a saving throw is basically like a good example is like a dexterity saving throw is like, are you going to be able to dodge this trap? That's like a dart trap or something. A constitution saving throw would be like, you accidentally drank poison or ate something that was spoiled. Are you going to avoid throwing up or getting sick, you know? So it's like saving throws are basically to avoid bad things. They are basically it's like in a split second, is your body...
The more serious role.
Yeah, so saving throws are like, you know, will you avoid a trap or a bad effect from something? Like lots of times wisdom saving throws would be like, can you resist mind control from an enemy spell, right? So...
Yeah, and then if you ever hear poetry ask you to make an intelligence saving throw, just hang up the call and leave.
Okay.
Why the intelligence saving throw?
Because there's like two things that can do.
It is very rare.
And,
yeah.
Both of them kill you instantly if you don't save them.
there's a few things, but it is quite rare compared to most of the other ones. Yeah,
it's one of the more dire ones. Certainly.
Yeah. But yeah, so those are like the saving throws. Basically, can you avoid the effect of something else in a split second? Or I guess in the case of a poison, it's just will your body naturally handle it? But you know,
like a contested throw.
Yeah. And then you have all the skills, and the skills are much more kind of like utility things, basically like, you know, like you could see there's a lot of stuff on there, but like stealth is a pretty self-explanatory one, right? You say like, oh, I'm going to try to sneak past these bad boyos, and I would say, give me a stealth roll. You roll, I mean, if we're using a website like this, you just click it and it'll do it for you. But, you know, the idea is that you would roll a 20-sided dice, or die rather, and then you add your dexterity bonus, and that's your result, right? So again, maybe you're a super dexterous character with 20 dexterity, and then you roll like a 19, then you have 24 stealth, a 24 stealth roll, and that's gonna sneak by pretty much like anything, really. So, but let's say your character is really undexterous, they're really clumsy or something, and they have like an 8 dexterity. They actually get a penalty, and then they might roll like a, you know, if they rolled like a 3, that becomes a 2. And that's like a really bad roll, you know. So a lot of it comes down to chance, but there can be a huge swing from like a -1 all the way up to a +5, depending on what your character is good at. And so, you know, and your character is not going to be good at every skill. A lot of the skills are just going to be like a flat, you know, no modifier roll, depending on what your stats are. But you'll basically, Tartrus, when we like make your character together, you know, basically you'll have a choice between some different skills to get more bonuses in. Basically as part of creating your character and thinking about their backstory, we'll think about like, oh, are they going to be good at like, you know, nature or athletics or animal handling, right? And you know, so like
and then your class determines what you might have proficiency in your saving throws. Like Barbarian, for example, has strength and constitution.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the one other thing that I haven't really mentioned till now. But yeah, again, we'll talk about this more when we actually make the character. But like there's a thing called proficiency, and basically beyond the normal ability modifiers, which again, every other roll, saving throws, attack rolls, skill checks, right? All of those add or subtract the modifier that's relevant as far as base ability. But then additionally, when you kind of determine your class, the idea is that there's some things that you're also just proficient in because you've trained with that skill or saving throw or whatever it is. And that is essentially another bonus on top. And it starts out at 2 and it just goes up as you level up. It's flat. There's nothing you have to do for it. It's just, basically. So let's say, and that's what these like checkboxes are for. Basically, if you decided that your character was athletic, like they had trained in athletics, which would make sense for a barbarian, then you would just add 2 to that. And instead of being a 1, because of the strength bonus, it would now be a 3. Or it's getting the 1 and then the 2, so.
And what, it's like every so many levels that goes up.
5 or 6 levels, 4 or 5, I don't know. Yeah, but it's not something you have to worry about. Like especially whatever website we use, it'll probably do that automatically. So basically, yeah, at the start we'll basically just go through and check a few different skills that your character is good at, right? And so a lot of that comes down to you kind of thinking like, what is your character? What did they kind of learn to do as they have grown up? Because they're starting out. The idea is, the characters are all starting out at level 1, so you're like an amateur raider. Like you can decide whether this is your first raid or not, but it's definitely not. It's definitely your character is not a seasoned raider. They're basically just getting into the business. Maybe this is going to be like their second raid or something. But
yeah.
But the idea is that they have trained and growing up, learned different skills. But they are starting out with just a few, and later on you might get more. So, but yeah, but that's basically. I don't really tonight. I don't really want to get into like armor class and initiative and anything else. We don't really need to. But like, that's the basic idea is just that you have like you have your base abilities, base ability scores, which affect your skills, your saving throws, and then your attacks. But yeah, and like I know it always seems like a lot to introduce it to new players, but like that's basically it. And again, you could think of it being kind of like New Vegas. You got like skills are kind of like your perks, you could say, and then you got your base things.
And then if you want to just metagame the whole thing, pick race and class that boosts dexterity. And like wisdom, and then just dump everything else. Who cares?
This is Purplex's advice. This is not my advice.
This is not my advice. I'm saying if you want to metagame it,
yeah,
dexterity is probably the most overpowered stat.
Yeah,
given the amount of option that you have and what it actually does for your character.
Yeah, but so like with your character though, Tartrus, like if they're being like a big old strong boy, like
I guess what I'm saying is, as a big old strong boy, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage.
Yes.
Well, that's okay though. It's not like
I am also doing that.
Yeah.
I'm more in for the RP aspect of it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's metagaming D&D is like 20% of the game. So.
Well, there's like also. Like, there's ridiculous math people have done where you could play, like, certain races that give bonuses to movement, and you could move, like, half a mile in 6 seconds.
Yeah, Drake and
the speed of sound.
I've concocted a tabaxi that can move across basically Poetry's entire map within a couple turns.
Yeah, and it's like, obviously, that is ridiculous. But yeah, no, like obviously there are certain like that's one thing like is long term. Lots of times magic users start to kind of outclass non-magic users in general. Mm-hmm. But it's not a big deal, right? Like it's like the party as a whole. I try to account for like power levels and stuff, and I don't think I've normally had too much issue with that.
Yeah, that's another thing in playstyle, right? That you have characters that will just be strong, and like basically any time of the day they're gonna hit the same forever.
Yeah.
And then you have you know, a wizard that just like, oh, I use 5 spells, I can do nothing now.
I get stabbed with my dagger and do like a fifth of anyone else's.
Dagger,
yeah.
That has my dumped dexterity stat and.
Yeah, but yeah. So like,
but I mean, those 5 spells are really good.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's something that you have to manage for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, so basically though, Tartrus, this is like, you know, this is the basics of like how the system works with D20. It's all based around D20s, pretty much, as far as like the actual stuff to get things done. Damage dice will normally be, you know, 4-sided dice or 6-sided dice or 8-sided dice, whatever. But in general, you know, everything is basically based around a 20-sided die. And of course, this is just as far as rolling goes. Once you get like, once you get your class figured out, and then your subclass, right, you'll gain more abilities. Like you will, and there's a whole space on the character sheet for like abilities and like languages and other stuff, right? So like, eventually you'll start to get features or abilities that like let you, like as a barbarian, for instance, you can do like reckless attacks, where you give yourself a better chance to hit, but it makes it so that enemies have a better chance to hit you for a turn or a round. Yeah, there's a thing called advantage, which is basically you roll 2 dice and instead of 1 and take the higher. And so there's a feature that you'll get early on as a barbarian where you can choose to roll advantage. You take the higher of 2 dice rolls. And then which gives you obviously a much better chance to hit, but other enemies will get advantage against you until your next turn. So there's like, you know, and that's just like the very basic barbarian level stuff. Eventually you can have ridiculous shit based on like the subclass. Like there's I haven't looked at the barbarian stuff too much, but like there's, to give you just a basic idea from my memory, there's a lot of different subclasses. Like there's one type of barbarian that uses one of the most common ones, or basic ones, that uses like totems and basically bonds with animals and gains some ability reminiscent of that animal's abilities, right? So like you can be like the elk in the game I play on Saturdays. My barbarian is like an elk totem barbarian, and so he runs really fast in combat. He's the speed of an elk in combat. But that's just like one type of barbarian. There's like berserker barbarians where it leans heavy on the idea of just full out rage mode, you know?
Yeah, barbarian gets pretty wild. Like,
yeah, there's like some that have like...
There's one where you rage, which is like your main ability thing. But when you use that, you have what's called the wild surge.
Yeah.
Which,
yeah. I think that's what Undead was saying.
Which has a random effect that you roll for.
Yeah. The idea is basically like your character.
I don't think anything bad can happen to you in it. I haven't looked, but
I think there's some that might. But the idea of like there's some barbarians that use like they have like magic coursing through their veins basically, and they use that to fuel like their rage. And they do more damage as a result, but sometimes they like lose control and just random magical shit will happen. Like it'll start like lightning bolts pop down or some shit, you know.
Right.
You know, there's all these different types of stuff, but it'll just be something that you look into and decide what you.
Oh yeah. Okay. So here's, I've looked it up. You have 8 effects that you can have. One of them could be flowers and vines temporarily grow around you.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of them, I honestly,
obviously not the most desirable effect.
For stuff like that, I honestly would maybe like take it and add more, because I just you know, I like the idea that there's a lot of random effects that might be situational, but yeah. Anyways, though, so like you know, that it is like a lot, but at the same time, once you kind of get a feel for it, you know, and the thing is, when we're like playing, it's not like you need to know what skills are applicable. In other words, like, it's not like you need to like look through the sheet and be like, I need a stealth check. No, basically you just tell me what you would want to do in the world, and I'll just tell you if you need a roll for it. You know, like if you want to like vault over a railing, right? Then depending on the situation, I might either just be like, yep, you vault over it, and now what you do, right? Or I might be like, it's a big drop, give me like an athletics check to see if you land safely, or an acrobatics check, right? Like, it's not like you need to have all this in your head. You just tell me what your character would do physically in the world, or mentally in the world, I guess. And if there's a roll that's needed, I'll let you know what you need to roll. So...
Okay.
So it's not like, you don't have to memorize all this stuff. Yeah. So, but that's like the basics. And yeah, I don't know. Do you have any, again? So like, we can meet again at some point and do the more nitty gritty, just like figuring everything out.
Yeah, and I can like look at stuff online and.
Yeah, I can send you some resources, or like lists of the different subclasses for barbarians. And if you decide that like barbarian doesn't fit, like it sounds like it would, like with your idea, but you could also just be like a fighter that is very aggressive otherwise, like there's different ways you could get across the same idea mechanically.
Yeah, there are things like fighter is very versatile, and where it can go. Whether you want to be somebody that's just good at weapons, or you can wear heavy armor but also cast a fireball.
There's like there's some kind of there's a version of like fighter that is basically like a war wizard kind of. They have some wizard spells, similar with rogue. So there's a lot of subclasses where the lines are kind of blurred between different things.
Yeah.
There also are half casters, like a druid.
Yeah, or like a paladin is. I think it's sort of like a third caster or quarter caster. I don't know, but like there's some classes where like a paladin, where they have a mix of like being a martial character with weapons up in your face, but they also have some magics. So I don't know. I don't know. Do you have any questions?
Not at this moment.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm just absorbing everything.
Yeah, it is a lot to absorb, definitely. But yeah.
I mean, certainly in the Discord as well, as you look through stuff, feel free to just post anything in there. Any of us would.
Yeah, for sure.
Certainly more than willing to help you.
Yep. So, I don't know. So, if you have to go to bed, Tartrus, feel free to hop out. Otherwise, you can just hang in here while Purplex and I talk. I'm
gonna be hitting the hay, but I did very much appreciate this session. Yeah,
we will. And what I think we'll do, Tartrus, is at some point later this week, maybe, then we'll sit down and like hash out all the actual details and stuff.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah, and then at some point I'll probably next time. Well, yeah, I need to talk to your buddy Sam as well to get him around.
Yeah, he is. He pretty much works like 9 to 5, but I think he's working at home. I'm not sure, but
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know if you. Yeah,
I can talk to him and be like, hey.
Yeah, well, I messaged him, and I messaged him, and so I just got to work out a time, I think so.
All right, sounds good.
Yeah, and I might do that. I might do the same thing we did here, basically just like a quick rundown and then a separate thing.
Yeah, definitely.
All
right. Well, you guys have a good session.
Yeah.
And I'll speak to you later.
Night, Tartrus.
Yeah. See ya.
Bye.
Okay. Let's see. So, yeah. So, Purplex, we can just talk about... I have it on the same document. I'll make its own document eventually. But we should talk about your idea for your boy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have one too much, really.
Yeah. So... oh, yeah. So let me show... I guess let me pull up, like, the map that I kind of, like, sent to you, basically, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's better. Definitely, it's one of those things where it's like, it'll be easier to explain just showing. So, let me get that up on stream so that chat can see. Except I have it... it doesn't want to capture Photoshop very well. I've streamed Photoshop before, but it doesn't like window captures because it's like technically there's like different windows inside the thing.
Less talking, more raiding.
Yo, Tartrus, thank you for the raid. I guess Tartrus was probably just doing some Subnautica stuff while we were talking. Let me see if I can get this. Ay. Here, let me see. Can I just get the... Your requested crap guide to oh yeah, that's you're talking about like the video series where it has like I think they also did one for Monster Hunter, right? Okay. Do you have my...
What that even is?
Yeah, they're pretty funny. It's just like comical videos about... Do you have my stream up as well?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It does not want to capture... Give me a second. Stand by. I opened it with Microsoft Photos because I just need... But it doesn't want to capture that either. Bruh. Bruh. Paint. I'll open it in Paint. There you go. Yeah. Oh god, it's so
nice.
It's so big. Okay. Okay, here we go. This is more like it. Okay, I gotta make it so you guys can see it. Hold on. Yeah. And then we put it up here. Okay, yeah. So, I also, on this overlay, I have a spot for another camera because I wasn't sure if Tartrus would. Or I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to put his camera, but without opening his stream or something, it wasn't going to be easy. Okay. So, here we go. Here's the map I sent out, except not cropped to just the relevant areas, right? So, like... What I have in mind, right, is that, like, you guys are, you're starting up in this city of Norholm, which is basically, there's, like, a kingdom roughly in that circle, right? Like, a decent-sized kingdom. And in that, like, document I sent, like, basically, the idea is that this is, like, a very, like, anywhere outside of the cities, it's very like traditional in that like lots of times the villages will send out a raiding party to go across whatever body of water and raid, but it's pretty much, unless, you know, besides people who are basically kidnapped in those raids, there's not really much diversity. It's pretty much just humans, right? Of course, there is, like, maybe some orcs that have their own villages scattered around in the hills, and some dwarves who might have their own, like, places. But beyond that, it's mostly just humans. The exception is in, like, the cities, right? So in the cities, like the city of Norholm, it's a bit more diverse. So, like, there are some more of the other races. But I know you want to play a giant boy, right?
Correct.
Goliath stat block. So my world does have something that is basically like a half giant. They are around 9 or 10 feet tall, and basically, if you want to play a Goliath, it would just be a reskinned Goliath, right? It would just be Goliath stats, but then they would just be one of this giant. I just call them the giant folk, basically, is what they're called. And they're basically from like this area way down here, right?
Yeah.
And they don't.
Which I was thinking, sort of similar to what you were brainstorming.
Mm-hmm.
I could have been just like.
This map is somewhat outdated, by the way, but yeah.
I could have just been like a child giant, a half giant, right?
Yeah.
That during one of the raids in this area was picked up as just like
a prize, basically.
A child.
An oddity.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. That would, I mean...
Maybe even not even recognizing that I was a giant at the time, right?
Yeah. They're like, oh, this is a really tall teenager, but it's actually like a 6-year-old. It's actually a toddler, but...
And then I come back to, like, you know, the civilized areas where I grow into this monstrosity where people sort of have to come to terms with me being there.
Yeah. But yeah, so chat, just so you know, basically these bodies of water in the far north are like big old lakes. They're not actually oceans or seas. And I talked with Purplex about this just to fill chat in. Basically, I said like these rivers here could like it's possible that a raid, actually probably fairly commonly raids will go down like these big rivers to reach like the seas of the south. And then from there, you know, they'll raid along the coastlines, right? So it's quite possible that your character, Purplex, was like you said, grew up on like the northern coast of this, like, it's not really a peninsula, but this big stretch of land, right? Where your character up there, it's mostly dwarves. They would be a minority, but they wouldn't be that weird of a minority in that part of the coast. They would be like, it's not, it wouldn't be that weird at all for your character to grow up there. And then maybe a raid, picked up your character and then brought them back up to the north.
Or even more possibly, it could have been one of the closer towns that originally picked me up. And as I started to grow into a monstrosity, they sort of shunned me from their town.
What do you mean, like one of the closer towns picked you up? Sorry. I know what you're going to say, Fahrenheit, by the way.
I mean, there's going to be, like, closer towns along that path, right?
Yeah. What do you mean they got, like, why would they pick you up, though? Like, the other towns aren't sending out raids, right? Like,
It's only Norholm that sends out raids?
No, not Norholm, but, so the raiders of the world are only up in this like very northern area. Like,
well, no, I mean it doesn't have to be like in a raid. It could just be a product of war, right?
Yes, yeah. If you wanted to be from there, yeah.
Where I mean, I'm not sure how often it happens in the real world, right? But going through towns and what that you are at war with. And just taking the children back because you don't want to just like leave the children there to die.
Yeah. Well, and here's the other thing. Here's the other thing is like if they did notice that your character is like a giant folk person, right? Like lots of times like the I don't think it would actually be so even though your like people are very very far away from where all the Viking raider boys are, right? They are like when if they saw your character, it's very possible that they could just be like, "Yo, they would be a good asset because they're going to be strong when they grow up."
Yeah.
And basically you would be a slave. It's not like you would want that, but if they took you at a young age, maybe eventually they would have just let you join the crew normally. I kind of have that in the lore of like a lot of parts of
That's
the.
a nice head you have on your shoulders.
BM Mochi, thank you for the follow. Yeah, I have that kind of as an idea. Like a lot of parts of the sea around where the giant folk are from. Like, even though the giant folk are only from this one area, you can find them in, like, other major cities because of the fact that, like, they are prized as sailors and fighters because of their, like, stature, So, so I see what you're saying, though. So what you're saying is that, like, maybe your character was in, like, one of these cities that I'm kind of circling further upstream, basically, further up this coastline.
Yeah.
Because, like, maybe in a war between the different kingdoms there, your character was orphaned and taken back to one of these cities. And then later they get picked up by, the raiders or something.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah, that could totally work. Yeah, also, Fahrenheit, so I don't want to get too into this because this is not really meant to be a world-building stream or map-making stream, but I know what you're going to say. You're going to point out this river junction right there because it wouldn't normally make any logical sense, right, Fahrenheit? That's what you're gonna say, right? I just want to see if my guess is right. Yeah. So if Fahrenheit, if you notice, there's not a single other thing like that anywhere else on the map, which means I have a reason why that one is like that, related to the lore of the world.
Man-made river.
No, but kinda. But yeah, there is a reason for that, Fahrenheit. It is not. That is not a thing that normally naturally happens. It is related to the lore of the world. That's why there's only one river like that on this entire map. So, there's an explanation for it.
There's actually just one druid there.
Yeah, who's always no. It's like there's a society of druids, but they like take turns. Like, all right, it's my shift to keep the river moving that way. No. There's a reason. It's not even a secret reason. It's that there's this area used to be home to a lot of giants, and they literally basically constructed like a dam, like a big reservoir, and then split the reservoir down two different valleys. So it is man-made or giant-made, and I have a cool image. I've never really thought about exactly what it looks like, but there's an image I have in my head. There's an image I had.
Just be from there.
You can be from there if you want. It's a very scenic place, but no, it's not that type of giant.
A lot more.
No, but I see what you're saying. But no, that's not the giant. The giants that you're from are not actually. It's not like they're actually half giants or anything. And there's no basically you're just another race of minor giant. That's all. It's not like you could be born of one of the giants up there. Plus those giants up there have been mostly killed. So it is but basically the idea I had is that they have a statue of one of like the giant's gods with a giant like battle axe, and it's splitting the water into two rivers. Anyways. No, yeah, so your character could be from there, and the giant folk that your character is a member of, they are related to the giants, but not like recently. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, but if you want to,
because my character isn't a giant, right?
Yeah, they're giant. The giant folk, the name is deceptive because they are not true giants.
Yeah,
they're not like
a pseudo dragon.
Yeah.
Not even.
They're giant kin. Yeah, it's like it's the same idea like a troll isn't a giant, but it's related to giants. So that's like that. You're just another related race. Anyways, though. That was just a tangent that I saw because I knew Fahrenheit was going to point that out. Yeah. So that could work. Let's see. Let me go back to my document and like oh god, where's my mouse? There we go. So let me just like jot these ideas down. Basically, the idea is that character was born in the far south, which there's a name. I'll put it in this document that I'll send to you, but I'm not gonna. It doesn't really matter what the name is, right? Your character was born in the far south, right? In that area. Did you want them to? So you want them to have been orphaned in like a separate war and like then taken as a raider later, right? That's the gist I'm getting.
Yeah.
Okay. What age? At like what age? I'm assuming it would be pretty young when they got orphaned.
Yeah, like 6.
Okay, yeah. At age 6, they were orphaned in a war between the local realms.
Yeah, that's for you to decide.
Yeah, no, I already have it. I'm just saying local realms because it doesn't really matter for the purpose of this. Yeah, so they were orphaned. Yeah, these realms, like I have names for them. We actually use these names of these realms a lot in my other game, in the Friday game, because it's like where one of the areas they're in right now, especially. But it doesn't matter for this campaign as much. But the idea is, so they were orphaned at age 6, and then I don't know. So the idea is that then they were like adopted in some town, you know, further up the coast.
Yeah. So probably like they were brought to a town that they thought could care for me, right?
Yeah.
But as I grew, the realization of what I actually was became apparent.
Okay.
And not that they kicked me out of the town, but they sort of just recommended that I should leave.
Yeah.
Because, you know, some of the smaller towns probably don't have much need for warriors or people of strength, right? You know,
Yeah.
that are just filled with farmland and.
Yeah, well, I was thinking it might actually be the other way around. That like maybe you were in like a city. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, there's probably more work in the city than like the. Yeah.
There's certainly more demand for somebody that is physically strong and big in stature, right? That would be in the city.
Yeah.
Whether it be to fight or to maybe a blacksmith or whatever, right?
Yeah. So they moved to a city, and this is probably like I'm assuming like from what it sounds like this is when they're still like a adolescent, not really even a teenager yet.
Yeah, so maybe like from the age of like 6 to 10. You know, by the age of 10, I had probably doubled in size.
Yeah.
I'm probably like 6 foot tall, 7 foot tall even.
Yeah.
And it has become very apparent what I am.
Okay. And so the idea is that they basically moved to a city, and I guess they probably were like just like a orphan in the streets, kind of fending for themselves. It sounds like probably.
Yeah. So I do have in my character sheet that I've already made. I do have a background picked.
Okay.
Which is folk hero.
Okay.
And through that, I do have cooking utensils as a proficiency.
Okay.
So I'm thinking maybe as I grew up in some of these smaller towns, I was taught to cook.
Okay. Yeah.
Which is then throughout the rest of my life become like the specialty that people didn't expect of me, right?
Yeah, they always expect you to just be like, oh, he's just a big fighter.
Yeah, a big.
But then you whip out the spices, and all of a sudden you got Gordon fucking Ramsay up in here. No.
Yeah, and then I'm in there with my like big ladle that looks like a little teaspoon, where
yeah,
it's, you know.
All right, and so then, so at what age do you think you were picked up by raiders who basically like just would have kidnapped you, forced you into service?
Yeah, tell me more about that. I still don't fully don't know what, like, how we're starting, or
Yeah.
where we're being sent to.
So
yeah, like, obviously we don't know where we're being sent to yet, but
so probably what I'm imagining is that just at some point you were picked up by raiders in a raid, and they were like, "This guy's big. He'll be useful. Let's force him to work for us on our crew, on this longboat." You know, they might have forced your character to like partake in a few fights and stuff. But then they realized like you're good at cooking too, and they would have started like, slowly you went from being a prisoner, a slave, to basically eventually they would have just been like, you're a member of the crew.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I was thinking might work. But if you have like
I mean, I guess it's kind of a little more stereotypical, but maybe like, since I was orphaned and I've been going from town to town, in one of these raids, not really seeing a better option, I sort of offer myself to the raid boat or whatever it is, right?
Okay. Interesting. Well, you think that your character would literally like, they're like, this could work. Like they're like,
because I don't, I may be living on the streets or whatever, and don't really have a way to pay for food or anything. I got all these restaurants that I could be perfectly proficient in,
but they're racist. They're like, you won't fit in our kitchen.
Are too small.
Okay.
I can't find work, so a raid happens, and I sort of take the opportunity to seek shelter in any way that I could.
Okay, so is your character like morally, like, do they really care about the morals of this, or are they kind of just like do what you got to do to survive?
Probably more do what you got to do to survive.
Okay, yeah. So we'll say like a raid happens in a small town that this character is passing through. And these raiders that you're going to be with starting out in this campaign are not like particularly harsh. They're not like religious zealots who are going to murder everyone in the name of the gods, right? Like they really don't even care about murdering beyond just getting to loot, right?
Yeah.
So it's like they're not like the worst of the worst. They're still not good. They're still going in like burning down villages to take all the shit, but it's not like they don't really it's not like they're hunting down every villager to kill them. So
yeah, I think logically for my character maybe that would even make sense. In like I know my own strength.
Yeah.
And if I were able to stick with these guys for long enough, I could maybe, see myself as the head of the raiders. As I grew in physical stature and gained trust with them.
Okay. So then basically kind of like on a whim or just like kind of thinking like, wait a minute, I see an opportunity. They would just like, I like to imagine that as this like village or town is getting like burned to the ground and like they're just tossing loot into bags and throwing it on their ship, your character walks up and is like, hey guys.
Yeah, which let's say 10 is when I get like sort of thrown out of wherever I was, and then maybe it's been like 4 years or so. So like
okay,
about 14 now.
Okay,
hitting that more prime age where I, maybe at this point I'm like 8 foot tall.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, so like at age 14, this raid happens.
And sort of out of desperation of the years of just living off the streets and being respectfully thrown out of towns.
Yeah, and this actually works kind of interesting. So what I'll say is that your character, the language your character speaks, they probably learn like the other local languages there as well, right? But the native language of their people, who they would still know from when they were like a kid, at least a bit, it is actually related to the language that these raiders speak, somewhat distantly, but like your character could probably at the start do very basic communication with them. Should basically, very basic stuff, but basically just communicating the idea of you working for them. And I imagine like these, the raiders are probably so surprised that they don't they might have been like lifting up weapons when they see you approaching their vessel because they're like, oh shit, what is this guy doing? Is he about to like try to attack us? And then your character just kind of like offers work, and they're probably like dumbfounded,
Yeah, certainly. They probably think that I'm like some soldier coming to save the day or something.
Yeah. But in that document I sent out, I did come up with a name of the captain or the chieftain or whatever he is of this crew. Einar the Ever Watchful. That's what it was. He is kind of like he's a guy who he's not really he's a guy that would probably appreciate the audacity of your character to like come up to these raiders in the middle of their raid and ask for work, and would probably take like some of the crew, even after your character is clearly not like an active threat. Some of his crew might have been about to like take an axe and try to kill you anyways. But he would have stopped them because he's kind of the type of guy. He's like, hold on, I want to know what this guy's about. If he's willing to just walk up to us,
Yeah.
And he probably would have taken your character under
an amount of courage.
Yeah, he would have been impressed. He's a leader who recognizes like courage and stuff like that. And he would probably take your character like under his wing, right? Making sure that even though they're an outsider, making sure that obviously your character is useful. And is treated well by the crew. There might still be a little bit of bullying from them, but it's nothing. Yeah. He would make sure that there's no harm that comes to your character. And yeah, so I would like to think that your character. It's probably been a few years that your character's been with the crew, right?
Yeah.
And you've been training and stuff, but obviously you're still a level 1 character, so it's not like you're an experienced raider now.
Yeah, that's why I like the idea of like my character sort of growing up very simple, proficient with cooking, right?
Yeah.
Like sort of just standard people life, right?
Yeah. And
probably hasn't even really seen a real blade in action until.
Yeah, well, he's probably like he's probably been used mostly as like the cook of the crew, which is very useful. But and also like with the sailing and rowing and stuff, your character is very useful. Probably since you are young and they don't want to lose like a good cook.
Yeah, I like to think that they had just like some dude that was burning fish for them, and and after a little while of eating this food, I'm just like, I can't take it.
Yeah, no, and definitely like so like your character's probably been with them for a couple of years now, but has not really been an active part of the raiding crew. Like in other words, they have a weapon, they know how to use it in the basic. They know how to use it well enough, but they're not the first one to charge over the boat when you raid. How old do you?
Maybe like they just don't actively trust me well enough to send me in to try to take loot and
yeah.
That all makes sense.
Yeah, so how old do you think they would be now? Like, again, probably a couple of years have passed or so I don't know. What do you...
I don't know. If that's like 14 to 15 that happened, maybe, just turning 18 now.
Okay. Yeah, so then...
It's been a little while. It's like 3 years or so.
Yeah. And so just so you know, so like basically when your crew is not raiding... They would be based out of the city of Norholm, where the campaign is basically starting with you leaving from. So, like, your character there probably has, with the money you make, even though you're still a minor member of the crew, it's you just have a small cut. It's still a good, it's still pretty decent, and your character would probably still be able to, like, have, like, their own little, like, house or hut or something, and,
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure whatever it is, anything was better than the life I was living.
Yep. And so so for your character, even though like it's not like pretty work necessarily, you do. I mean, maybe your character hasn't killed anyone yet, but like the crew does kill people, and stuff. The earnings you make from it they make it so that your life is better otherwise than it was before. So. I imagine, like, well, I don't know. It's up to you how you feel like this has affected your character. But I could see it being the case where, like, because they don't really have anything else to spend the money on, like, they never thought about having their own, like, place to live and stuff. I imagine, like, they put a lot of their money back into their chef work, like, buying exotic spices, growing herbs and stuff.
Yeah.
No, I definitely think, so, like, again, obviously this campaign is going to be... This is just the backstory, and this campaign is starting with you guys basically reaching a new world and never, at least for a long time, not coming back here, right? So it's one of those things where like all this only matters to a certain extent, but now we have an idea of like how your character knows the crew pretty decently, probably, and additionally, I'll say that like your character, you have like that cooking set, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll say on board the ship, as long as you guys are with the ship, you'll also have like a decent supply of like spices and stuff that your character has insisted on keeping. So,
Sweet.
Yeah, we'll say that the ship is accustomed to having you as the cook. So, I don't know. I honestly have no plans or no idea for what's going to happen with your guys' longboat that you start with.
So over the years, I've insisted, like, we go out to raids and stuff, and I'm like, I need new spatulas.
Yeah, we got to raid the spatula factory, boys. No, no, but yeah, I basically imagine that as you guys raid villages, it's like oh, the village mayor of this place we raided had like a nice silverware set, and your character would be like, no, that's mine. We're keeping that. Like exactly. And the captain would defer. He wants to keep the cook happy because if the cook's happy, everyone else is happy. With a good a belly full of good food. So, yeah, exactly. So but I was gonna say, like I don't know what your guys' plans are gonna be with the longboat you start on. The captain, the NPC captain, like in our Friday game, it had a kind of similar conceit of the crew starting like underneath a captain, right? And in that campaign, as Craigox can attest to, like basically at the start of the campaign, for a dramatic beat, the captain was just like murdered by someone who betrayed them, essentially. But this campaign, I'll just let you know, like I don't have any plans for anything like that. Maybe one of you guys will eventually become the captain of this crew. Maybe this NPC captain will stick around. Maybe you guys will ditch the boat entirely and go on foot in this new world. Or maybe you'll like get an upgrade to your boat. You know what I mean? Like I really have no idea what you guys are going to do, but regardless, as long as you guys have a way to transport like your cooking stuff, we'll assume that your character has like a decent kitchen set up. So
alrighty.
Yeah, it's just because
it
makes sense.
I assume if we are to ditch the boat, at whatever point,
yeah,
would probably, because I do plan on getting into into fighter cavalier.
Yeah, that's true.
So being able to have a horse or something, have a spice satchel.
Yeah. It's like you probably wouldn't be able to bring all the stuff with you if you guys end up just going on a journey over land, but you could definitely bring the basics and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's probably about it then. Like I said, I think probably for the, I guess we'll probably just do point buy. Like I said, I think I'll let people, if they want to roll, they'll have to do the in order thing because it's a little more interesting. I don't know, but if otherwise, just point buy I think works the best. So
yeah, how do you do that? You take the best of 4.
For rolling,
the best 3 of 4.
For rolling, you do 4d6 and then you drop the lowest. Well, are you talking about for point buy though?
No.
Okay, yeah, no. For rolling, it's just 4d6.
Yeah, no. I'm curious if I were to do that right now, what type of character I make it. So I'm gonna make a character real quick.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it rolls automatically for you in the character mancer or whatever it's called.
Yeah, it does, I think.
Alright, Uso Foss. That's my character.
Oh, the generated name.
Yeah, let's just pick human for now. Abilities. Roll for stats. Alright, roll. Oh,
Well,
I have to look.
Yeah, what is your strength? If you're doing it in order, then what would the strength be? With this hypothetical character.
It rolls all of them for you.
Oh, like at once?
Yeah, it rolls all 6. Okay, so I have... My stats in order would be 11, 8, 8.
Yeah.
Oh, roll for stats won't let me do 8 and 8.
You did. That's a great start for a fighter. 11, 8, 8.
No. 2 of these are 8 actually. That's what's happening there. So 11, 8, 8, 16.
Okay.
15, 17.
So
I'm making a warlock.
Yeah, if you were to do it that way, you would just have like a super mentally adept character that is like literally physically, below average in every way. Except I guess strength was 11 or whatever but yeah. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so I'm making Nox. This is Nox now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess is that probably, I think that's about it. So, I think that sounds like it's like probably pretty all right. I like the idea for the character. Yeah, it's your boy is gonna have some interesting stuff related to, well, yeah. This campaign is gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm probably actually gonna hop out of voice chat and go stream like some video games for the rest of the night. But I wanted to get this knocked out. So, yeah.
What are you thinking about playing?
Maybe some God Hand. I don't know. I don't know. I'll talk with my chat about it. Chat, what do you guys want to see? But yeah, no. So, yeah, I'll try to work out a time to talk with Craig Ox and Drake and Matt, and then Tartrus's friend Sam, and then I gotta actually do Tartrus's character with him too, but yeah, I might try to do it in like pairs, but I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. Okay, well.
All right, Craig Ox, you've heard the backstory. If you want to join in with me, you go ahead.
Oh, if he wants to be like your twin or something?
Mm-hmm.
Your twin. Yeah, you guys were both just together for that whole thing. And then... but yeah, oh yeah, you did roll.
That's perfect, Craig Ox.
He did roll an 18 for Constitution, though. Literally rolled max for Constitution, though.
So in the Roll20 roll for stats, you're not allowed to get 18.
Really? It doesn't allow it?
Yeah, like on the character sheet. Hold on. Yeah, on the character sheet, the options that they roll for you are 8, 8, 11, 15, 16, and 17. Those are the available, like...
Are you sure?
Or maybe that's just because that's what I rolled?
Yeah, I think it's just orders what you got. I don't think it's like...
Oh, yeah.
If you do it again, it will just generate a new set, I think.
Yeah, no, it's just very strange how they did that.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a bad one.
Yeah, so yeah, I do think I'm gonna try to upload like these preliminary sessions to my YouTube channel as well. I'm gonna try to archive my VODs for this stuff better.
I don't consent.
You do. But even though you're on the stream right now, it'll be on Twitch.
Yeah, I don't consent.
Yeah. So I'll probably I will definitely upload. I definitely want to have like a playlist on my second YouTube channel where I have it like all of the character creation and brainstorming streams that I do, and then the actual campaign stuff as well. But yeah, I think I'm gonna hop out of voice chat and go. I don't know.
All right,
play.
Hold on.
Yeah.
What would this be? This is my like 15th character now.
Yeah, stream's still going, Lonnie. We're just gonna wrap up the D&D stuff.
This is my 15th character that I've made. My stats in order. 13, 18, 10, 16, 17, and 11.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. So I'm making a cleric.
With this Dex cleric, yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna hop out, but
I have a 17 wisdom.
Yeah, that's true.
Those big stonks.
Yeah.
Then you can get them point by.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna hop out and go talk to my chat, and we'll talk more about it in the future. If you have any questions, feel free to just DM me and we can talk more about it. Yeah. Alright. I will see you later, bud.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Okay. Yeah, no, yeah, Craigox, if you want to take the rolled stats of that you got there and then make a character based off of that, that's going to be interesting. Let's see. What would it be? It would be 11, 10, 18. Oh, you already put in the chat. Sorry, you already put in the chat. Let me look at it. 11. No, it'd be 10, not 8. Not 8 for the second one. Because you just get rid of the 1, right? So 11, 10, 18. Yeah, 10, 17, 13. Yeah. So wisdom. I think you misread it. Yeah, but luckily that works in your favor. Instead of you said 8 Dex, you'd actually have a 10. So that's kind of important. But yeah. I mean, if you want to do that, I'll allow that as an option. But you have to, and if you change your mind, you can just do point by instead. But if people do a single set of rolls and then it gives them an idea, I'll allow that in order for the stats. But yeah, so we are going to wrap up this part of the stream. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say goodbye to anyone watching this on YouTube in the future, because I do think I'm going to try to upload this, and I'm going to, just to make it easier for me to edit, I'm going to end the stream like on OBS and then restart it so that it cuts the VOD up. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back in about like 30 seconds.